a feeling there are a lot of people at home right now who thought that working from home was a piece of cake, and now they are finding out otherwise and eating all the cake. Working from home is awesome, but I'm guessing that a lot of you watching this are probably working from home unexpectedly due to everything that's going on in the world, and it's maybe not on the terms that you wanted it to be. And even if it is and you are excited about it, either way, there's probably going to be some issues with motivation and distractions and productivity that I at least faced and I struggled with when I first started working from home after I got laid off 3 years ago. I actually wasn't gonna do a video on this, and then when I did come up with the idea, I was still gonna do other videos first, but then I realized, like, I think we need to talk about this now because it's such a big issue and there are so many people home unexpectedly trying to figure this out. And I do have some tips to share with you about just how to stay motivated, how to stay productive, how to not be distracted. Yesterday, I did this Instagram poll where I said, what do you need help with? What are tips you need for working from home, so that I could really target this video to you guys. And this is kind of crazy. When I scroll through the results, all I see is like motivation, motivation. How do you stay productive? Motivation. How do you not get distracted? How do you plan? How do you manage your time? How do you not get distracted? How do you not get distracted? How do you manage your time? How do you stay productive? How do you manage your time? How do you stay motivated? How do you not get distracted? How do you stay motivated? How do you manage your time? So I think that it's safe to say there's a theme here. When you think about it, not getting distracted is kind of the same as productivity, like just keeping the ball rolling and keeping on moving forward. And so is motivation. Like, motivation is also about continuing the forward momentum. So I have, let's count here, 6 tips that are very specific to staying motivated, staying productive, and not getting distracted. So these are in no particular order. I'm just gonna dive right in. The first one is to go to a designated space for your work. And so you guys might recognize this tip if you saw my video on creating writing habits. So this is like creating work habits. And the idea is that you train your brain so that when you are in this space, this is when you get the work done. And the idea behind this, honestly, is that your home has always been for rest. It's always been for play. It's always been for not working. And so you're basically retraining your mind to shift that perspective. So it helps if you have a very designated, specific space that you are training your mind. Whenever I am here, this is where I get work done. The rest of the house is the rest and the play. That hasn't changed. It's tough because honestly, I prefer to just sit on the couch and be comfortable. But I know that a lot of the time when I really need to get work done, I have to come into my office and sit right here so I can work. And remember, one of our goals is to avoid distraction. And so honestly, coming to that designated space where you can close the door and shut out the distractions is so important. And that leads to number 2, which is minimizing your distractions intentionally. And so I noticed that when I was reading the polls, a lot of people know what their distractions are, whether it's other people or maybe Netflix or just the TV in general or other things. And so honestly, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna come out and say it. Do not watch Netflix in the background. Do not have distractions, things that distract you, in the same room with you if at all possible. So that is another reason that going to a specific space, it is about shutting out distractions. Because honestly, Netflix is addicting. There is a reason that we all binge watch shows all the way through and we can't stop. It's because they suck us in and it is distracting to you. So if you need like noise on in the background, maybe something like a Spotify playlist without words, some music without words, that can be helpful to you. But if you have something that you know is a distraction to you, minimize it and get away from it when you are trying to work. Yes, you might have self-control for a little bit, but that's actually pulling away your energy and your attention to say no to it constantly when it's like right there calling to you. It's like, come watch me, you know you want to watch this show. You might as well walk into another room so it stops calling to you. That's my opinion. But not all distractions can be left behind. Speaking from personal experience, we have family members who sometimes like to follow us into our office. And so that leads to number 3, which is communicate. You know, sometimes those distractions, like, they are more important than work because they are loved ones. And at the same time, they might not totally understand because of that same thing that I mentioned, where home is about rest and play and it's not about work. So they don't totally get that this has become your work zone. They do not understand that, and they are not naturally going to get that unless you explain it to them. So my 3rd tip is to communicate, and just get very clear understanding between you and your loved ones for when is your work time and what does it look like and what do you need from them to help you not be distracted. It's going to look different for everybody. Like if you have kids, it's going to look very different than if it's like another adult family member or friend. It's going to look different if they're extrovert versus introvert, and it's really going to depend on your situation. So it really does boil down to, you need to communicate with them and have like a two-way conversation where you help them understand and then you get understanding from them on what would be the best type of boundaries to set and how to work with them. All right, now that you have minimized your distractions and figured that out, how do you make the most of your time and be really productive and stay motivated to keep working and moving forward? Gosh. This is my little kitchen timer, and this is something that I use for something called the Pomodoro method. And so this is just simply a method to time yourself for 25 minutes work time, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break, and so on. And some people will put like a longer break after every 2 or 3 of these, just so that kind of breaks it up. So it's kind of a long story, but the guy who came up with the Pomodoro technique was, I believe, Italian, and so he had a kitchen timer in the shape of a tomato, and so Pomodoro actually means tomato, but the idea is that you have a timer set for 25 minutes, and you work and you don't think about anything else, you don't have any distractions, you focus on work, and then you take a 5-minute break. So it's a half an hour total, and this might sound familiar to you because in the writing community we call this writing sprints, but it's really the same idea. It helps you to have that deadline. There's a timer counting down to keep focused. You don't want to pick up your phone or whatever else because you only have 25 minutes to get this thing done, and you know that you have a break at the end of the 25 minutes, so you can use those 5 minutes of a break then. So it really does help you to stay focused and stay motivated and stay productive. The reason that I prefer using a timer like this versus my computer or my phone is because there's too much temptations with the other things. Like if I look at the timer on my phone, I'm pretty much going to accidentally go to Instagram every time, and accidentally, right? So this is going to also keep things distraction free. And of course, like we're talking about, the whole goal is to stay motivated, have forward progress, and not get distracted. So I really love the Pomodoro technique, and if you want, you can always, adapt it to your situation. If you would prefer 30 minutes work and then a 10-minute break, or 15 minutes work and then a 1-minute break, I don't know, you get the idea. You can make this work for you. And my 5th tip is actually to give yourself that time off and take those breaks that I talked about, not just the 5 minutes at the end of every Pomodoro, but also lunch breaks, and to end your workday at a reasonable time, at least most days if possible, because as you have probably been finding out already, if you're working from home now, it's very easy to just keep working, like 24/7. It's hard to know when to stop because there's no like cutoff time. There's no everybody's going home for the day. You're already home. It is surprisingly difficult to stop working, and especially if you love what you're doing. But even if you don't, it's hard because it's right there. Like there's no getting up and leaving. And I know it might sound counterintuitive, you guys. I get it. But the thing is that as weird as it sounds, if you keep working like constantly nonstop, it leads to burnout. And some of you might be like, why would I keep working? Like, why would I do that? But it's actually surprisingly easy when you don't have a specific cutoff time, when there's no, this is the time that we go home. You are already at home. And especially if it's something you're passionate about, you might find that you're not ending your day until like 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, which is something I have done many times. But the reason again is that if you don't put it down and like refuel yourself and do other things you love and rest and, just separate yourself from your work a little bit every once in a while, if you don't do that, you will burn out, and it does not feel good to burn out. And it's just so much more healthy to take time for other things in your life, like the people you love and exercise and eating right and, reading a good book. And so I really encourage you guys to not forget to take care of yourself. And my last tip is to name your time, because yes, the Pomodoro technique is great and taking breaks is great, but if you don't know where your time is going, let me tell you, it is so easy to waste an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and you look back and you're like, what just happened? Where did my time go? And give this video a thumbs up and a comment below if you agree and if you've experienced this, because believe me, it is amazing how much time can just disappear, and you're like, hold on, I meant to check email for 10 minutes and it's been an hour. Or I meant to work on this one project for 1 hour and it's been 3. And so things like that, it can be surprising just how much time you lose. And so yes, the Pomodoro technique is great, but make sure that you're actually naming your time. Like, this hour is for this project, this next hour is for emails, this next hour is for my exercise, and this next hour is for lunch. You know, like that kind of thing will help you to make sure you actually accomplish things and you stay productive versus maybe spend a little bit too much time on one project or spend a little bit of time in the scroll hole, as they say. It really depends on you and where you find yourself spending your time. But if you name your time and have a specific goal for each hour, that can help you to stay much more productive as well. I like to do that using Google Calendars. I'll pop a video on the screen for you and link it below if you guys want to watch that. And I like to make lists and use a bullet journal, and I have a Kanban board right here as well. But anything you can do to name your time and like specify where it's going can also help you to be way more productive. I hope that answers your questions, guys. You had so many good questions in here about motivation and productivity and not getting distracted. I hope that this video helped you. If it did, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which was your favorite tip. But I will say that almost every single question was in one of those 3 categories except this one, which was how to not constantly snack. I'm mostly bringing this up because I can relate and I struggle with this one too. And normally I would say don't buy that food, don't have it in the house. It's a lot harder to snack on something that you don't have. But currently, I think we all are hopefully stockpiling and have a lot of food in our house, because that's kind of the goal, is to not go out for a while. And so it can be very hard not to snack then. So honestly, I feel like self-control is kind of a muscle. Like, it's something that you have to continue to strengthen and work on. And so we are going to have to work on our self-control, especially, I'm mostly talking about myself and chocolate right now. Working from home, honestly, when you sum it up, it's all about self-control and continuing to grow that self-control muscle. If you have a few oops moments, which we all do, don't guilt yourself, don't give up, you know, continue to work on the self-control muscle and keep at it, because you can get better at saying no to all the things, to the distractions, to the food, to not being productive. Like, you've got this. It's going to take time. It's not going to be something you become magically good at overnight, but you have got this. You can do it. It is definitely something that you continue to work at and practice at and set things in place that will help you. So I hope that these tips that I shared today will help you to start exercising really strong self-control at home so that you're motivated, productive, and not distracted. I have one other video about working from home, which was more focused on all the things that people don't realize before they start working from home. So if you want to commiserate on that video, I will link it below as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye!